Hello. I want to talk about caring for your mental health during your cancer recovery and also clinical psychology and how that can help. Again, my experience, but also what I've watched on the television or I've Googled information that I've found for myself, which I found helpful, really inspiring, and I'd like to share with you. And I really hope that it will help you too. First of all, talking about recent studies, there was another programme on the BBC recently about the truth about caring for your mental health, and they have all the latest understanding of how the body works, how the brain responds well, and how you can make yourself feel better. And I was amazed by it, really inspiring. First of all, with exercise, everybody knows that exercise can release endorphins and feel-good hormones into your body, but you can obviously be limited during your cancer recovery on how much exercise you can do. But it showed people just going fairly slowly on an exercise bike, but at the same time concentrating on something else, using their brain to focus. And it made a massive difference to the part of the brain and the brain waves which make you feel better. So the suggestions are, you won't probably feel like dancing, but just as an example, when you're dancing, you're exercising, but you've also got to concentrate on where you're putting your feet, how your arms are, and so on. And that gives you a real buzz. And you only got to watch Strictly Come Dancing to see how much of a buzz they get when they're learning dances and performing them. They look euphoric to me, so I mean I'd love to do that, but I never will. Also, if you were walking, if you listened to a podcast while you're walking, that then makes your brain focus and more blood flows to that part of the brain because you're concentrating while walking. So that's an extra benefit. They also talked about probiotics, which you obviously be careful about what you can take during your chemotherapy and even after, just to make sure with your oncologist nurse that they don't in any way create more estrogen or interfere with the medication you're on if you're on estrogen blockers. But probiotics can actually affect your mental health. And they did this study of a group of people who had forms of depression or feeling low, and they took the probiotics for 4 weeks, and then at the end of that they took saliva samples in which they could see how much cortisol was in it, and it had improved their well-being, their mental health by 50% in 4 weeks, and that was the only difference in what their behaviour was. So that was amazing. Interestingly, the people in the placebo group felt 20% better anyway, just felt it. And often I think if you concentrate on your mental health, that can actually help it in itself because you're taking positive steps, you believe, into helping yourself. Another thing they did was electrical stimulation, which is quite a new idea and not available on the NHS yet, but they are looking at it, which a 10-minute session can change your brain waves, and then you're more able to sleep, and of course you'll heal more if you sleep more, and also the anxiety levels dropped. But for those of us who haven't got access to that, one of those machines or a therapist who practices it, then what they said was that mindfulness, meditation and calming music can all have similar effects. So I would reiterate what I've said previously, that download a meditation app until you find one that you like the voice, that it does calm you, and that you can use to go off to sleep. Just make sure they haven't got the advert that comes in at the end and wakes you up, which is what I found. But if you find something that agrees with you and a piece of music, you could download. There's plenty of music out there which is directly put together for calming you. And you could sit and read something while the calming music is in the background. That will really help. And the other thing that I've touched on is visualization, which I used a lot when I was at my lowest moments after surgery, and I was in bed and perhaps some tubes in me. I couldn't get comfortable, and then I would imagine what would happen in the future in a good way. I would say, right, I'm going to go on a holiday, and this is how the holiday will go, and I walked myself through where I was with the sunshine on me and so on, and built a dream that I could revisit when I needed to take myself away from that negative place and from what I was suffering at the time. Another thing which is new that's come along is social prescribing. So doctors in certain areas have been trialling this, where they prescribe that the person with depression or feeling low goes to, say, a gardening club which has been set up for that purpose, and other people that are there are experiencing similar issues, whether they are bereaved or they've been going through a difficult time because of their health or other issues. And it was really lovely to see the improvement in those people. And there are other things like painting, drawing, pottery. But of course, if you're not able to get out and take part in these activities, then you can draw at home, for example. They've got adult colouring books. If you've got yourself some crayons, and just that action of using the creative part of your brain and focusing, even just to stay inside the lines, that helps to relieve the circle of thoughts going round and round. Another thing when you're better is volunteering. If you can get involved with a particular charity, if it's only for a short period of time, if you're only able to do it once or twice even, the benefits of that stay with you. For example, I applied to be a volunteer with the Look Good, Feel Better team, and I went down to Cardiff to the hospital, and I was a helper with the ladies that were there that day that had come in for that workshop. And although I've never worked on makeup counters or never been trained as a beautician, your whole life of trying to make yourself look better and improve your appearance, helps. And particularly as you get older, coping with aging, with how you look. And I found it so rewarding to talk to these ladies, and they would, because they knew that I had been through it, they would ask me questions, and I could put their mind at ease and then help them with the makeup, so they felt, at the end, yes, I think I could do that, and feel a lot better for it. And I remember one lady that was there, and she said, I'm really struggling with housework. My children, don't do a great deal. They're sort of teenagers. So I was talking to her what I did. I got rid of my massive vacuum cleaner that just caused me nothing but pain in my shoulders, and I couldn't possibly use after I'd had surgery. And I got myself a light one. And it's funny how you can just go on suffering and using things and not thinking of how you can make it easier. So that's great. I can get those and I'll do that. And she felt a lot better, and I came away walking on air thinking that I just helped someone, just a little bit. So really that can help your mental health during your recovery. Talking about exercise, what I found is to do what I usually did, but slower and for a shorter time. So I would walk, but not as far and not as fast, and I would see if I was all right, as long as I didn't feel exhausted and my muscles or I had pain anywhere to make me feel low. Then okay, I'll do that again, walk a bit faster, go a bit further. And walking is so good for you because it uses so many of the muscles, and as long as you've got the right footwear, you're not likely to injure yourself at all. And I would recommend getting some good walking boots, something really comfortable, because the other week I went out with just some ordinary cheap boots on and I caused a blister, and then you've got to wait for that to recover. So I then said, right, I'm wearing my hiking boots around the village, even if they look a bit over the top. And since then, I've had no problems. I love swimming, and I've done that for years. When I go to the gym, swimming afterwards is my treat. But obviously during chemotherapy, you need to avoid pools because of the possible risk of infection. But once I was able to, my surgeon said, yes, you can go back and you're healed from your surgery. I found that really helpful. And also not to be afraid to stretch out. I mean, I've never been able to do overarms, so I can't speak to that, but the breaststroke is quite gentle. And at first you can use your feet more, and then as you go through, you can stretch further. And stretching is apparently good. I was avoiding it at first. I know I'm not reaching up to that cupboard. But the nurse said, no, you need to do that. You need to stretch your muscles out. And my masseuse, Sandy, has told me for the pain spasms I get here, that I should do this movement, stretch as far as I can very slowly, and that stretches that out, and that has really helped with the spasm that I get here. If I overdo it, if I whisk something or I polish too long, then the next day I'll get a sharp pain, and that's unpleasant. So then I do the stretching and that helps. So don't be afraid of that. And obviously when you swim in the water is supporting your body, so you're not likely to get any injuries for that. I'd wear flip-flops getting in and out of the pool though, because I've seen people slip, and since then I've always worn something on my feet. Obviously if you're doing exercise and you get pain or discomfort, you would stop. That's a sensible thing to do. And my friend Kylie, who I met at the Look Good Feel Better, the first session, being younger than me, she was 32 at the time, but when she got back into her fitness, she was playing netball and putting pictures of it on Facebook. Oh, and that cheered me up, seeing her so fit and healthy. And then she went on to be in a Look Good Feel Better fashion show in London, which she looked amazing, absolutely beautiful. Her hair grew back and lovely and thick, and she's just doing really well. So the other things that helped me, I've always favoured Pilates over yoga, but they were showing that how yoga and Pilates can really help you, even though you're doing small movements, that it is really beneficial. So just quickly now, I'd like to talk about clinical psychology. I had this a couple of years after my surgery and chemotherapy, my whole treatment, and mainly because I didn't really think I needed it. And then it was only when I had a false alarm and it really got to me that I needed extra help. So I was referred by a nurse who actually did my nipple tattoo, and she could see that I was struggling. And I found the clinical psychologist so professional and such a lovely person. I was fortunate in who I was referred to. But she got me to talk about a lot of things, not just the cancer, but my past, things that I carried with me. And I remember having this mental image that I'd been carrying a lot of things as if I was dragging a trailer behind me. And when I talked it out with her and I started visualising again, it was as if I'd parked the trailer up and I'd left all those thoughts behind. They were still there. I knew they were there piled up on the trailer, but they weren't being dragged along with me all the time. And she, apart from just talking it out, she gave me some exercises, mental exercises to do to help with dealing with those thoughts that come to you and you can't get rid of them, fears. And she said to imagine a stream, and there are leaves on the stream and they're floating along, and each of these leaves is one of your worries, what's troubling you at that particular time. And watch them as they float past and they float away. And you will know that there'll be more leaves that will come down that stream, but they too will float past. And if you close your eyes and you imagine that, and you see those things on the leaves, and it helps. And that's something you can do at any moment, at any time, and I think you can actually get better at it the more you practice it. The other thing is fear of fear itself. And when I go for an annual mammogram, after I had that false alarm, that scare, I get myself in a bit of a state, or have until the last one, last year. So I'm afraid of that horrible feeling of fear that comes each time I'm waiting for mammogram results. So I've had to use those skills that I learned and all of the things I've talked about to help me to be calmer and to tell myself logically they've all been fine up to now, so there's no reason why the next one shouldn't be. And that really helped me. And I hope some of this will help you.